once more, and I was honoured to be appointed as chairman for the year ahead. The following board members were also elected to serve on the Chelsea Supporters Trust board in the last 12 months. Cliff Auger, Gillian Bromfield, David Chidgey, Debs Cody, Paul Hay, Dominic Rousseau, Dan Silver and Ben Williams. Clayton Beerman is the Trust Secretary and Stuart Kinner is the Club Treasurer. Also during the year co-opted onto the CST board were John Gordon, Hamza Tazali and Diane Akers. A special mention to Diane, who has led the way on restarting the Chelsea Disabled Supporters Association, but more of that later. I think it's safe to say, and I'm probably repeating myself in my speech last year to the membership, it's been a difficult year on the pitch for Chelsea Football Club over the course of last season. But here at the Chelsea Sports Trust, we have been busy once again this year, and I'm proud of the work that we've done as a trust over the last 12 months and the positive feedback we have received from you, our members and our fellow Chelsea supporters. I'd like to personally thank all of the existing board members for the work that they do for you. They give up their free time to represent you all, often at very short notice periods. There's never been a quiet year in recent Chelsea Sports Trust history, and the last 12 months and the last 24 hours have been no different. We've worked closely with Chelsea Football Club over the last year on many items. We've worked with board members, we've worked with key club officials at senior level to promote this football club and its supporters through a variety of initiatives. We continue to highlight Chelsea Football Club and its supporters while giving back at the same time to the local community. This has included weekly food bank collections we have run at home games for the Hammersmith Fulham Food Bank. This is our 7th successive season now, collecting again for those in the community who are most in need. Thank you once again for your continued support for the food bank collections. We once again this year held our regular Founders Day at West Brompton Cemetery to coincide with the club's anniversary, and we're pleased that a number of club officials came along to the event to lend their support. We supported our friends in the Chelsea Supporters Group in arranging the return of the annual Cobham Supporters Football Tournament and seeing a few people here today who were at that. We sponsored our first ever Chelsea Ladies Legends charity match at Dorking FC on Sunday the 26th of May. We've arranged a visit with the Chelsea Foundation here at Chelsea to the Barons Court Homeless Project for the opening of their new gardens for their homeless guests. And more recently, we've bought new football boots to enable young girls to play football for the first time. Last season, we also purchased 100 tickets for our first Chelsea Women's Premier League home game of the season versus Spurs, and we distributed them amongst schools and sports clubs in West London, with many kids who came to that game actually coming to Stamford Bridge and seeing their first ever football match. Ideally, we'd like to try and do that again this season, fixtures permitting. Today's a good example, it would have worked out, either at another women's game or a Europa Conference League game, ticket availability permitting. No at home springs to mind, but we shall see. As mentioned earlier, we will be relaunching the Chelsea Disabled Supporters Association after the Brighton home game on the 28th of September. So make a note in your diary, Brighton home game, 28th September. We'd love to see as many of our supporters there as possible. We've held 2 more successful events as part of the Chelsea Heritage Partnership, including one that looked back at the history of the Chelsea women's team last season. And we continue to host our over-the-line mental health hub at selected match days with Hammersmith, Ealing and Hounslow Mine staff. If we help one supporter experiencing mental health issues by holding this initiative, we do think it is worthwhile. Finally, the Big Stamford Bridge Sleeper is now in its 5th year. It's gone from strength to strength. We're delighted that we raised £24,000 for Stoll and the Barons Court Homeless Project in March of this year. And this year's money raised now takes us through the £100,000 mark for the 5 years the sleep out has taken place. I think thanks to everybody who's either taken part, who's donated online to help us raise what is really a fantastic amount of money. Thank you all. Thanks also to the 18 former Chelsea players, John Bumstead, Gary Chivers, Joe Cole, Jason Cundy, Kerry Dixon, Paul Elliott, Danny Granville, Tommy Langley, Colin Lee, Ken Moncal, Pat Nevin, Eddie Niswicki, Colin Pate, Frank Sinclair, Nigel Spackman, David Speedy, John Spencer, Mick Thomas, who all sent videos of support for the Stamford Bridge Sleep Out. Chelsea Sports Trust continues to build and grow a strong relationship with many of our former Blues and will continue to do so in future. We do plan to hold a further Big Stamford Bridge Sleep Out next year, and we'll look to ways we continue our partnership with our neighbours in Stoll and Barons Court Homeless Project, and perhaps look at other fundraising activities during the course of this year. I'd actually personally want to say a really big well done to my colleague on my left, the CST Vice Chair, Dominic Rosso, for the work he has done with Sheffield United, the Premier League and Chelsea to establish, if people aren't aware, a compensation scheme for Chelsea fans who are financially impacted by the cost of replacement train tickets when the Sheffield United game was rearranged at very short notice last season. This should be a benchmark in future for any football supporter financially impacted by last-minute changes, whether at Chelsea Football Club or anyone else in the Premier League. They should be compensated. Those of you who've made claims, if you're watching or in the room today, you should receive reimbursement very, very shortly, and hopefully that scheme will be extended further who might have been impacted by this last-minute change. Also, I'd like to say our role at the Chelsea Sports Trust has always been to promote Chelsea Football Club and its supporters. One of our main aims is also to encourage the board of Chelsea Football Club to take into account the interests of Chelsea supporters. We look to cooperate with the club wherever we possibly can, but we've also reserved the right at any time to criticise or challenge decisions that are not, we think, in supporters' interests. Despite this being a new season and the usual supporter optimism that goes with that, we are aware clearly that there still are many Chelsea supporters concerned about the direction of the football club on and off the pitch. Although the CST traditionally has steered away from on-field matters, we have heard from so many members who are genuinely concerned, for example, with our transfer strategy that we now employ, which many either do not understand, and the loss and treatment of academy players such as Conor Gallagher and Trevor Chalobah that many just do not agree with. Treating players like commodities rather than people, banishing first-team players from training, swapping shirt numbers while players are still on the books, and briefing journalists on a pre-season tour while player negotiations continue to give many of our members a real cause for concern. We are Chelsea Football Club. We should be better than this. This is the third year of the new ownership group. This could be a make or break season. I hasten to add, I did write this before the last 24 hours, with their goal to earn the trust and confidence of supporters. This could even prove to be the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges the CST has faced today, and there have been many, to build a strong working relationship with those who are running the football club. We've been impressed by the willingness of people at the club, such as Danny Finkelstein, Michael Cornell, and the new Supporters Relations Department, and their willingness to work with CST, the Fans Advisory Group, and all other supporters groups. Beyond that, there is still a small group, at the football club who find talking to us as supporters reps still is a major inconvenience. For Chelsea to be the trailblazer fan engagement that the club aspires it to be, there needs to be a cultural shift that ensures that every person at this football club, from the owners down to whoever sells the match day programme, knows without supporters, this football club does not exist, and should ensure that supporters' issues and concerns are taken seriously and treated with the respect that they deserve at all levels of the football club. We will on occasion see things differently to Chelsea Football Club, but we are pro-Chelsea Football Club. Let me say that again. We are pro-Chelsea Football Club. We want the club to be successful. We want the best there is for Chelsea Football Club. And just as importantly, we want the best there is for its emotional shareholders, you, its supporters. We've seen the departure this week of Chief Exec Chris Jurasek. There will not be many who will mourn his departure. On his watch, we've seen coach prices subsidy removed. We've seen prices go up. We've seen the match programme price increased, pages reduced, food and drink prices increased across the stadium, youth and women's fixture prices increased, the cancellation of the annual yearbook and the end of the season DVD as part of a large cost-cutting regime. We've also seen club members pay an extra £5 a year for a club membership with an ever-reducing opportunity to buy match tickets. The CST tried to build a relationship with Chris, as it's done for every other preceding CEO, but he showed little interest in doing so. We look forward to an improved working relationship with the successor, Jason Gannon, as the President and Chief Operating Officer. I'm sure Jason is fully aware that you don't get 3 points if you beat Barrow in the Carabao Cup later this month. We welcome Jason's arrival with this significant change of leadership at the helm. Visibility and leadership at difficult times is crucial, and now is the right time for a more visible engagement with the wider supporter base from the leadership at Chelsea Football Club. As many will be aware, we wrote to Todd and Badad on the 8th of March last season regarding supporter mood and anxiety, saying we were at stage where a more wider supporter engagement approach was needed, which would help develop a much greater degree of trust with supporters. Since that letter, we've continued to have dialogue with the club, and we made a proposal to them in line with many of the recommendations, if you've read them, from the fan-led review of football governance that we now wish to share with you. We think now is the time for a much more public fan engagement strategy and the greater sharing of the club's strategic vision, including their commercial ambitions, with the wider supporter base. We've said to Chelsea that an open public meeting with supporters would be a good place to start. If Daniel Levy and Spurs can do this, and they're doing it again for the second time very shortly, why not Chelsea? That open meeting should take place in front of ordinary supporters, club members, season ticket holders, and not just representatives from supporters groups. It should also be broadcast live to the wider fan base via CSC's media channels. Many supporters have got concerns about the short and long-term future of the football club. Surely those supporters deserve a detailed strategy update from the ownership group on their medium to long-term plans. There's many issues for Chelsea supporters and the wider Chelsea supporter base around ticketing process, for example, the virtual waiting room, the loyalty point system, away tickets, poor communication in and around ticket availability. I've said many times to the club in the last year, if you follow Chelsea BWR on Twitter, I'd give the guy a job. I think he does a fine job in communication to the supporter base. There's major issues we've said to the club, and that we'll continue to say to the club. There's no easy answer solutions, but actually having a dialogue and making a suggestion could be a way of meeting halfway. We'll continue to raise those ticketing issues, as we know this is one of the major issues for Chelsea supporters right now. Westview as a concept, it's not working. If since January last year, every game went to general sale, despite us having 90,000 members, Westview tickets are too expensive. And since Liverpool last year on the first game of the season, no home game reached our 40,022 capacity. There might be segregation issues, there might be away allocation issues, but we continue to press the club on Westview's ticketing policy. The Crystal Palace game most recently saw Westview tickets reduced to £150, as if they were not selling, and they still did not sell out. An empty seat is nil revenue. If tickets are not selling, they are priced wrong. Touting and secondary ticketing is also out of control for both home and away Chelsea games, and also for Oasis tickets. Organised tout games have infiltrated the VWR and also the ticket exchange. The club needs to do more over the next 12 months to get more tickets into the hands of club members who, as mentioned, regularly miss out on getting match tickets despite paying an extra £5 this season for a membership that doesn't really offer value for money. Some of that extra money, 90,000 times 5, do the maths, some of the extra money from members should be reinvested in resources for the greater tackling of what is a serious issue, and also on communication with supports how the club is tackling this. With the complete purchase by the owners of Stoll, I hope we will hear news soon about what is happening about the club's intentions to redevelop Stamford Bridge. It's been 2 years since the ownership group has taken over, and we've seen no progress other than recruitment of the odd architect or two. It's important that the Chelsea Supporters Trust, and more importantly, Chelsea supporters as a whole, are at the centre of discussions regarding the future of Stamford Bridge. And that supporters' opinions are properly taken into account, and will continue to support the aims and importance of Chelsea pitch owners in the continuation of Chelsea Football Club at Stamford Bridge. And it is one of the motions that forms part, obviously, today's agenda. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you, and I encourage all CST members here or watching, to buy a Chelsea pitch owner share and become a Chelsea pitch owner. If you don't have a share, you can't have a say and you can't make a contribution. It's never been more important. And I think finally, just what I want to say to everyone in the room, everyone here, and if people catch up on this at a later date, thanks very much for all your support over the last 12 months. Thanks for coming along to today's meeting. And actually, thanks most of all for being a member of the CST. We say this every year, and after the events of the next 24 hours, this could be an important year in Chelsea Supporters Trust history. I think one final note as well, you probably all have done so, but just more of a reminder, there is a live survey with the Fan Advisory Board at this present moment in time that closes at 5 o'clock today. The results of that survey will be shared with the Chelsea board. So again, if you haven't completed the survey, go online and do so. You've still got a few hours. Again, thanks very much for coming.
Okay, this is the Secretary's report, which basically is just reading the email that you all got. But I just want to go through the just a general reminder. So there will be no voting taking place today. The voting will take place online, and unlike previous elections, it's not going to be the next working day. The voting will commence on Friday, the 13th of September. This is both for the board and for the motions of this meeting. So you'll all receive an email on Friday, the 13th. Lucky for some. Indeed. The board elections, just to remind you, we have 11 candidates who are standing for 9 positions. Individual positions on the board will be agreed by the board following the completion of the election process, which will last for 2 weeks from Friday. By agreement of the candidates, you will have all received a copy of the candidates' manifesto, which was annexed to the emails that you received, and there will also be on our website. If any of the candidates here today want to say anything or make any amendments to what they've put in their manifesto, they are perfectly welcome to do so. Just to confirm, those standing for elections to the board are as follows, and this is completely random. Dan Silver, Gillian Bromfield, Ben Williams, Paul Hay, David Chidgey, Philip Spector, Mark Meehan, Debs Cody, Dom Russo, John Gordon, and Cliff Olga. The motions for the board, from the board, are all again recited in the email. I'll just go through them. I'll tell you what they are. Approval of our 2023-24 accounts and the use of an independent examiner. Chelsea Supporters Trust affiliations, the Fan Advisory Board, implementation of other FLROFG recommendations, including the Golden Share, composition of the Chelsea Supporters Trust Board and co-optees, Stamford Bridge redevelopment, future of Chelsea pitch owners, safe standing, ticketing and match day issues, fixture scheduling, membership of Safety Advisory Group, supporter liaison officer, stakeholder engagement, European Super League and similar competitions, football in the community, fair treatment of supporters, and club heritage. The next part of the this meeting is a summary of the board elections, which I've already given you. So we'll take that as done. And Dom's going to give you the membership secretary report.
So Paul Hay, our membership secretary, is unfortunately away today, but he said the following: thank you. We continue to grow as a supporters trust, and now we are one of the largest supporters trusts in the country and in Europe, only behind Spirit of Shankly and Must, the Man United Supporters Trust, and both of which have been going for considerably longer than our 12 years. 2012?
Yeah, round about.
Yeah, 12, just over 12 years. He says if you've got any questions, please continue to get in touch with him. Over the next few months, there's going to be a lot of correspondence from the CST to you. So please engage as much as you possibly can and get in touch if you've got any questions.
So the Treasurer's report was again on the email.
Yep.
So if you refer to that, I can confirm that there were no more motions from the floor. We didn't receive any online from any of our members. And now I'm going to open the room up for questions and answers.
I think the other thing we'd say, obviously, we put today's agenda about 48 hours ago, and a lot's happened in that 48 hours. I think it's really important today, as well as questions and answers. This football club means to a lot of people, and it means a lot to the people in this room. It doesn't have to be a question and answer. If people just want to share, anything they're feeling, everything that happens in this session now, We've got it recorded. We'll make notes down. It'll form the basis of what we take away, what the new board will take away once the elections are over, and obviously then what we start feeding back and sharing with the club. So it doesn't have to be a question, even as people sort of how they're feeling at this present moment in time. Because I think it's safe to say, I think the statement made last night on Bloomberg, I think took a lot of people by surprise, including everybody on this board. But at the same time, we're probably not surprised. Yeah.
There's a couple of microphones here. Should we pass those? Is that all right? Thanks.
If you show me how
That they're on. that they should be on.
Are they on?
Yeah.
Is this one on as well?
Yeah, let's just do one. Okay, I'll keep that. Number 2.
Just wanted to ask, is it worth just doing a quick summary of exactly what's happened like for us?
It's an ever-changing feast, I think.
Is it official now? Do we know from that you say
Plus
Bloomberg? Sorry, yeah. Sorry, Dom. You say Bloomberg. Obviously, that's an American thing. How have they got that information? Do you know how?
We haven't had. Yeah, so just to confirm about last night, we found out via the press at the same time as everyone. I was just sitting down to my chicken chow mein and a pint, and I got the text or the Twitter links through. We've had no communication with the club on it today, and I think that was partly because we knew this meeting was going to take place today, and we wanted, rather than give our views across to the club, we wanted to hear from our membership, so that when we speak to them, and we'll speak to kind of senior leaders in the next few days, we can be really well informed. To confirm it, further bits have come out in the last hour or so. I mean, I'm not a betting man, but I would say that there's no smoke without fire. And if there are counter reports to counter what came out last night, I'm sure there would be some element of truth. But again, with all reporting, should be taken with a pinch of salt. Yeah, right at the back.
Johnston, Chelsea supporter. This question is about ticketing, that it pales into insignificance in the overall scheme of things after last night's news. Up until this season, if I had a ticket for a home game, I could get in contact with the club, ask them to email it to a friend of mine, and they would do it. That policy's changed. I could have had 2 tickets to bring my kids against Crystal Palace. Somebody offered me a couple. Because of the farce that is the membership and the cost of it and the chances of getting tickets, I'm not going to waste the money on getting my kids a membership. But I was gutted to find out that policy of Chelsea emailing people tickets to those who couldn't attend has changed.
So so there's a really quick answer on that, DJ. So you're right. So in previous years, if let's say I couldn't go on a Friday afternoon and I couldn't get my physical card, my season ticket to my mate, my cousin, for example, I could email the ticket office on a Friday afternoon saying, I can't attend. Can you convert my season ticket card into a PDF? And then I'd email it to my cousin and they'd be able to show it on the phone. So that policy has changed this year, whereas you now have to go onto your login account and on your CFC ticketing account, and you forward it on to another season ticket holder or member. What you can do is you could forward those tickets on to me, or I could forward it on. I could forward it on to a very close friend, and that's how you do it. So let's say your children don't have a season ticket or a membership, you can effectively forward it to whoever, and they would be able to then have the PDF. So let's say my girlfriend couldn't go on her season ticket, she could forward it to me, and I would then have it on my phone. There's no limit to the number of tickets which each season ticket could then have on their account.
Ticket office didn't explain that to the guy who was going to say.
DJ, I had the exact same issue last week against Palace. I had no idea how to do it, and it was only at the very bottom of the FAQ. So again, it all comes right to communication and actually having an open ticket office that you're not treated like a criminal or guilty just for asking a legitimate question that a season ticket holder should be able to ask ahead of a fixture.
I think the other thing I can add as well, and this applies to anything around ticketing, the club reviews their ticketing policy once a year, and then they bring it to the fans forum probably around November, December time. So again, if there's any ticketing issues, any policy issues or change of policy issues, we have between now and November to suggest those to the club. So again, use the CST email address for suggestions around change of policy. We can collate them, we can present at the club, because the decisions on policy changes don't get made in August. They get made many months in advance. So we need to have our submissions in probably by November.
Mark, can I just remind the board that we asked the club to have a Q&A on ticketing, and they didn't want to do that. All they wanted to do was put the Q&A online. So we have tried to make it more open.
That's absolutely correct. We've asked them to actually come and speak to supporters and actually hold in-person sessions, or if they were worried about staff getting crap from supporters, hold it online when it can be very much managed and you can submit through a chat option rather than somebody going gung-ho on a member of staff, which nobody really wants. Nobody should have to go to work for that. And it was after 2 attempts, both of which were declined, and they said that a written Q&A would suffice. I personally think I'd prefer to answer a question. I mean, if you were a customer in any other walk of life and you were spending thousands and thousands with a business, I want to pick up the phone, I want to speak to whoever, but at football, for whatever reason, you are just guided to frequently ask questions. Let's go on here. So there's a question about the CPO, which again, CPO not here, but the question is, how do you buy shares and why are they so important?
We can send the link about how to buy shares. It's available on the club website. Why it's important is if you don't buy a CPO share, you cannot have a say about the club's future. Because
info about CPOs.
Yeah, CPO was set up, I think, about 1993, 94. And basically now it's got 14,000 shareholders, I think, as far as I'm aware, give or take. Well, 14,000 shareholders account for about 20,000 shares. And if any decision is taken either about the temporary relocation of the football club, and this is quite relevant in the current climate, or moving away possibly, it can't happen without getting 75% of CPA members to vote in favour. So an example is under the last ownership, the idea was explored of Chelsea relocating about 3 miles away, and the CPO members voted against that. So again, people can debate this today online on social media, but if you are not a member, you can't have a vote and you don't have a say.
Just some colour on what's going on, because I sort of know this through my professional career. There'll be the shareholders agreement in place between Bowley and the Eggman, and basically there'll be deadlock provisions. So there's certain things that Egg Barley can't do without Bowley's consent, and presumably what's happened is Egg Barley wants to do certain things and Bowley has said no. And then that creates a deadlock. And then what's happening now is what's known as a Texas shootout, I think, which is each of them has the opportunity to buy the other one out, and whoever puts the most money in wins. So I think that's what's currently happening. Now, there is a chance, I'm not saying it's a good chance, but there is just a chance that if this whole process fails and neither of them can buy the other one out, that they'll have to sell the club. But I mean, it's highly unlikely, but there is, I mean, but that is what's happening at the moment, I'm sure. They're in a contractual, they're pursuing whatever's in their shareholders agreement, they're pursuing it.
Yeah.
And there must be a slight chance that if neither can buy the other one out for whatever reason, there'll be a forced sale. And it's unlikely, but sort of some glimmer of hope, possibly.
I think from the CST's perspective, look, we're at the moment, we have no information officially, really difficult for us to actually take an informed decision on this. So the views today are really important to help us. Yeah. Texas shootout. So the views today are really important for us to kind of gauge opinion on this.
And I think to pick up on the point you made earlier, people haven't read the Bloomberg article. Bloomberg are a very credible organisation. They are a very credible organisation, especially in the world of finance. So again, if you haven't, do read the article. And the only other article is the one Don made reference to about an hour ago. No surprise, but Matt Law has written a piece on this in the Telegraph. So whatever the story is, there's some substance to it.
Unfortunately, I spoke to a friend who's in my world, but but Ben connected to me,
Yeah.
knows more than I do.
Yeah.
But
Can we grab a mic?
Probably that the Eggman will buy out Bowling.
Yeah.
I think most people think.
Any questions from the floor? Not, we'll go to. Do we have any proof that tout gangs have infiltrated VWR and the ticket exchange? And have you got any comments on how the VWR and ticket exchange is and how it's changed in the last year or so?
There's a number of Chelsea supporters who have shared with the Chelsea Supporters Trust in the last 12 months actual examples, because not surprisingly, if you're either a member or season ticket holder, you don't sit in your seat in isolation. You talk to people around you, you build a community. You might only be first name turned, but you know your neighbours, you know your friends. And people notice certain different patterns of behaviours going around if you've been sitting to the same person for sort of 10 years. So a number of people have shared with the Supporters Trust examples whereby they have sold their ticket on the ticket exchange. They've even tested it out by changing the hours they sell the tickets because they couldn't believe the speed at which it was taking place. So they got to applaud them for staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning, but then they put their ticket on sale at 3 o'clock in the morning and it's sold within seconds. So something untoward is taking place. Yeah, I don't think for 1 minute there were many Chelsea fans or many of our 90,000 members, unless you're on a night shift, up at 3 o'clock in the morning buying tickets. We have given examples that we have shared with the club that have been investigated, which seems to suggest that there are, for want of a better word, two camps. There's the organised, what you might better word gang, and then there's individual people that are doing this on a ticket by ticket basis and making a profit on it. So they work alone, but they do find ways in. Obviously, the ticket office continually fight a running battle with these bots and these organisations. They shut one down, they close it down. But it is real, it is happening, and it isn't just happening at Chelsea Football Club, it's happening all over the Premier League. It's happening in the music industry as well. You know, it is a real issue, but I will defend the team that work at Chelsea Football Club on this. They're not a big team. Yeah, they'll respond and they'll deal with it, but it's so big now. You know, if you go on livefootballtickets.co.uk, you go on seatpick.co.uk.com, I appreciate some of it be duplication, triplication, etc. But there will be people listening on all these sites. So some of the figures might be exaggerated because they collate all of the sites. But for the Bournemouth game, because it's the most recent game next weekend, which is the hardest away ticket of the season now, other than Brentford now, Luton have been relegated. There is already a proportion of tickets. Some may exist, but some certainly do exist. They're on sale in the Chelsea section. So you have many things. You have the individual, you have the gangs, and regrettably, we have got season ticket holder members selling these tickets as well. The only way you tackle it is twofold. You tackle it with a strong communication campaign. Look on the club website. Look at our message about scalping. Yeah, sorry, scalping. Yeah, yeah. So look at our message on there. Look at the size of the font compared to what's above it. If you look there, go online now, and you'll see that meeting Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank in the Rose and Ball before the next game is much more important than dealing with touting. There's no, go look at other Premier League clubs. Look at the messages they have on their website. Look at the Premier League website. The Premier League website lists every site that exists and tells people not to buy from them. We could do that. It's still a battle for that small group of staff. But yeah, the message we could put out, there's no jeopardy, there's no sanctions. So the risk, if I'm selling my ticket, risk is minimal. You know, a chance of getting caught are minimal. So I will do it. The only way it's come to light that we're aware of it is supporters have been selling their ticket through the ticket exchange and they're presenting the evidence to us and they're playing detective. Yeah, because if they can't make the game, they tell their neighbour, I'm not at the next home game. Strike up a conversation, with the person beside you. I've done it myself. I've given examples of the club quite recently from the first game of the season. Chatting to a person beside me, he bought his ticket the last minute. He's here on a 3-week holiday from Australia. He's abandoned his girlfriend for the day and she's gone shopping down the West End. And he was chuffed to bits to get a ticket for Chelsea Man City. And he told me he spent £300 getting that ticket. I've given that evidence to the club. And I'll keep giving those examples to the club. And to quote a club director, we will continue to be assiduous. I didn't know what assiduous means, but I do know now on a pursuit of this, because I would say at any game, home game, anything up to several thousand tickets, are being sold through a variety of mechanisms, and that's the expense of members. That's why we've made the point in here in my statement. Members have paid an extra £5 this season for what?
Last.
And yes, thank you. Yeah, and last as well. Yeah, two increases in a row. Invest that money in an expanded team.
Yeah.
We've got a good team at Chelsea, but they're a small team.
I
Put
think-
money in them, and I think they could get results.
And a lot of it comes down to communication because we know they're actually doing things. They're not resting on their laurels entirely. But supporters have no idea and then get angry when tickets are on livefootballtickets.com 20 minutes after the sale. Yeah.
And to give another examples, sorry, Dave, this is my next CFC UK article. Arsenal last season cancelled 20,000 memberships.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to.
And why do I know that? Because Arsenal do communication about it. We've probably cancelled memberships as well, but we don't know the number.
But do we have season tickets?
Yes. Yes, we do. We do both. Back to the point about communication. Many supporters think the club aren't doing anything. They are. It's a small team. They work extremely hard, but the comms need to be out there. And actually, if we took a straw poll today, don't worry, it's not an exam question you have to pass. Could everyone say straight off the bat now, if they are aware of touting on the seat front, behind or near to them on a match day, who to report to?
Sorry. Good day, everyone. Chidera from Nigeria. I want to understand this situation properly because I've been trying to buy season tickets for a few years now and it's been difficult. Is the issue with reselling your tickets away from the approved websites? Are you saying that people who buy tickets who are already members are not allowed to resell?
Yeah, you can't, if you buy a ticket as a member, you can't resell your ticket once you've bought it, be it through the ticket exchange.
No, you can sell it through the ticket exchange. You can't
Even
sell
as
it
a
out.
member?
Yeah, no, not as a member.
Not
you
as a
can't.
member, not
As a
as a member.
season ticket holder, you can sell your match day season ticket through the ticket exchange if you can't make a game. You can't sell it. I can't remember the piece of legislation, but you can't sell a match ticket. It's the possession of Chelsea Football Club outside of that mechanism.
Okay, so is the CST engaging the club in fixing this? And I just want to say, because I come from a tech background, I'm a software product manager, and I believe there are ways to make tickets such that they cannot be resold. So once you've bought it, you've bought it. If you want to sell it, they can go through the exchange, like you've said, and that should be the only way to. Sometimes you don't have to cancel season tickets or ban people. You can manage change in a way that someone has no other option but to go through the approved channel.
You're absolutely right. And I think with the introduction of digital ticketing, which whether we like it or not is on its way, there was a trial towards the end of last season for a few games, and to the best of my knowledge there's going to be more trials this season, and then it will slowly be going. And I think the forwarding tickets of season tickets, that's maybe kind of a pre to the digital ticketing, and if you've got a ticket you will only then be able to forward it on to somebody else through the approved means. So you're absolutely right. Are we engaging? Yes. I think there needs to be more restrictions. I think we all agree there needs to be better restrictions to prevent this third-party sales of tickets. It shouldn't happen. But there should still be a mechanism to forward tickets to legitimate Chelsea friends, family, colleagues, if I can't attend a game. I really strongly disagree with the whole, if I can't go, there's no way I can forward it on. I should be able to give it to my friend, a colleague, whoever, at face value. And there needs to be a way to do this. So yes, the CST is engaging in this.
Thank you. One other thing, but I need to understand something as well, because trying to register on the website, trying to buy season tickets, etc., I've noticed a prevalent problem. Sometimes they are not necessarily updated to the latest information. And I've also listened to you speak previously. You talk about engaging the club, but is it that the club don't really care about the CST or take you serious enough to listen to you? Because we are the soul of the club. The fans are the soul of the club. You know, I might seem out of place, but I've been supporting this club since 1997. Celestine Babayaro joined this club in 97. He was an Olympic hero. We won Olympic gold, right? And he came here. And in Nigeria, you have tons of fans. In Africa, you have tons of fans that love this club, you know, and that is why the Chelsea brand has grown so big, because it's now a global business, which is why the new owners bought it in any case.
It's also the biggest market. It's bigger than America.
Yep. So if they are not listening to this club with all the good things the CST does, like the sleep outs and so on, how exactly can we get their attention for good? And if they can even appoint someone that reports directly to the board and speaks directly to the CST.
So that's been introduced in the last 2 years. Before that, it was kind of you had to speak to the chairman, to Bruce. But in the last 2 years, they've introduced better mechanisms for the CST and any supporter to speak to, who will then directly speak to the board. So that at the moment is Danny Finkelstein, who is the director on the club, but he's director to oversee all fan engagement. So absolutely, we've gone in with the board, and I'm pretty sure they would love us to go away and not
then
bother
he
them.
should be here.
Yeah,
I think
But
whoever
unfor-
it is should always be at CST meetings.
pardon?
I think whoever it is that's liaising with the board should always be at AGM.
I think there needs to be, maybe not at AGMs, because AGMs for us are a chance for you guys to speak to us, but certainly at SGMs, we had Chris Izzett from the CPO join us in March. The club have been invited, and maybe they don't want to be fed to the lions too quickly. But again, we've given them a suggestion of how they can better communicate with fans, and Mark's gone through the proposal that we've given to them, and we've worked really hard on the proposal. It's going to go live to all supporters very soon. We've worked with the best industry minds in the industry on this proposal. I mean, it would be a lot of money if they were to go away and do this, but we've done it for them for free. We're all volunteers who all have very busy lives. So we've put together a really comprehensive plan on how they need to properly engage with supporters that's been ratified and certified by the very best minds in fan engagement in the country. So yeah, look, it's a long game. We're working on it really hard. And I hope that in the next few months we can bring some good news, because actually I think when I can say to everyone, it's been pretty mind-numbing in the last few months.
I think the other thing I'd add as well, to pick up on your point, mention it when I spoke earlier, in the last 12 months, you know, on the back of sort of like the fan-led review, you know, Chelsea have actually now got a supporters relation team. They support a sport relation person. Now they've got a team, and most of that team have joined sort of like the last 4 to 6 months. Obviously, I mentioned Michael Cornell. He heads up the team, but he's got a 4-strong team. It's 3 more than he had sort of 6 months ago. So it's a start. And obviously that's another mechanism we've got. There is a supporter relation team. But the point I was making as well about communication, they get it. Danny gets it. You know, they get fan engagement. We've got a relationship. We talk regularly. Yeah, we've got a WhatsApp group. There's a broader football club out there. You know, they've got 800 employees. Not all of them deal with supporters, but a lot of them do something that involves interactive sport. And I'll give an example. You know, we got to the Carabao Cup final last year. Unfortunately, we lost. The club people decided to get 28,000 plastic flags. Example. Now, I think we've all got enough plastic flags from Wembley over the last few years. Now, that's a really good example. If we are really flying on fan engagement, and it's a two-way process between supporters and the football club, a light bulb will go on in someone's head and say, right, we're at Wembley. Let's ask the supporters, because we've got a budget, rather than spending money on 28,000 plastic flags, let's ask the supporters what they would like at Wembley. It's not difficult, but that's culture change. This is a big organisation, and wherever the big or small organisation you work in, when you're changing culture of an organisation, it can sometimes take a while. And another example, Dom and I had a meeting with the club on Thursday about atmosphere and DJ. But again, that's us, you know, pushing the agenda and sort of saying, look, you know, I know we've had a DJ for 50 years. I'm old enough to remember Pete's pre-match spin, but you're implementing things and assuming people will like it. Actually, throw ideas our way as supporters. We'll tell you what's a good idea, and we'll tell you what's a bad idea. And we might tell you how to finesse an idea. But there's too many arbitrary decisions being made that impact on supporters' match day experience, with supporters not being involved in the conversation. And what we're trying to do is involve supporters more and more in that conversation. And that's the culture change we want to see.
And just on atmosphere, I've got a quick question. We've got to move on. The DJ will not be appearing at the next game.
So What?
Hang on.
Hold on, we got-
Steve, Steve.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, one more thing.
Can we come back to you just because I really want to get to, and we've got loads of questions online and you've had 3 questions, but we will certainly get on. Can I just go to one on here? You mentioned the DSA in your chair's introduction. Can you give a little bit more info about the DSA, what it entails, and how can people get involved?
Right, we've been working hard on setting this up. Unfortunately, Diane's not made it yet. She's on her way, but Diane and I and Becky Collis as well are involved in this. We've been working hard over the last year to reform the DSA, and I think it's absolutely fundamental that we have it up and running. It will be launched at the Brighton game, the 28th of September. We'll be in the T-bar before and after the game, so we want to see as many of you guys on as possible. And as Mark has alluded to, and Dom as well, the club get a lot of stick, but they have started putting people in place. We've got our first ever standalone disability access officer at Chelsea Football Club. The fact that it's only come about in the last 3 months is shameful, really. But it's here now, and the lady involved is very, very good. She's keen to work with everyone, and it is a major step in the right direction. But having dealt with these disability issues over the last year or so, it's frightening that the issues that people have getting into their seats, getting to and from the stadium, and it's not always apparent to able-bodied people, and that's why part of the remit as well for the DSA is to try and educate people as to how they can help with the involvement of people who are less able to get about than they are. You know, even if it means you're standing in a hatched area that's been painted on the ground for disabled areas, just be aware of it and move to the side. You know, it's as simple as that. Not all disabilities are visible, so you know it's not something that is should be immediately challenged. If you see someone who's using a disability toilet, for instance, and who is not in a wheelchair or who's not on crutches, they might well have an invisible disability. So, you know, people need to bear that sort of thing in mind. But we've had good cooperations from the club with this, as I say, and we're launching for the Brighton game on the 28th of September. And I think it's really, really big. And I think it's really great that we're doing it under the umbrella of the CST as well. You know, so we've got all the backing of the CST board and its members, hopefully, as well. And hopefully it will go from strength to strength from the 28th of September.
I just want to say on the back of that, I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of work that Cliff, Diane and Becky have done on setting up the DSA, and I'm sure you'll all agree. But Cliff also, just in general, I only tend to really get involved in what can only be described as the negative and shit of the CST. And that's probably why my hairline's reduced so much in the last 3 months. But the positive work that the CST does often goes through Cliff, be it our food bank. Him and Paul have absolutely made that a mainstay, be it Sleep Out, be it the DSA, be it so many other initiatives. So yeah, it's a really real pleasure to work alongside you, mate.
Yeah, sorry, linking back probably to ticketing, but more specifically the loyalty point system. I noticed that a number of the people standing for election have mentioned the loyalty point system in their manifestos, and so I'm sort of interested to know what changes they feel are warranted. I think loyalty point system is probably the biggest contradiction in terms, because I think if you were to look on Facebook in the last 5 days, you'll see every ticket for Barrow and all the Conference League home games all up for sale, all at face value in mind, or even less, but purely to actually get the loyalty points, which again is a misdemeanor because they're not even bothering to turn up for the games, they're just buying the tickets and they're selling them. So for me, any changes to ticketing or any changes to the way, you know, I feel sorry for the members who don't get any chance to get tickets. Yeah. But for me, the loyalty point system is completely wrong. It's completely not doing what it's supposed to do. Loyalty is a misdemeanor. And I just wonder what those people in their manifestos are planning to put forward as changes to that. Thank you.
So, I mean, on this, we could sit here for 5 days to discuss the intricacies of Chelsea's ticket policy and how loyalty points don't necessarily reward those who are actually the most loyal. I mean, we can go into detail, and I mean, it's really difficult because there are lots of people in the room who I'm sure we could all have a say. We're going to be doing a small ticket policy survey, and we had one last year, which was really comprehensive and has got a lot of detail. The club have informally said to us that they are going to want to make any changes to next year's ticket policy before Christmas. And so we will be using that to base a lot of our views off. We're a membership led operation, and so what our members think guides our input. So we will be taking pretty much everything from there, presenting it again to the club and saying, this is what your supporters are saying. You need to make these amends and you need to make these changes. I think a prime example is what's happened in the last few days. I really want to just touch on the fact that we, as season ticket holders, on Wednesday got an email saying that you had to buy all 4 tickets for Barrow and the 3 Conference League games by Friday, which is 108 quid's worth of tickets. Otherwise, you could buy Shamrock a bit later on, but you wouldn't get the loyalty points for, say, Liverpool away or for other games which are coming up. So you're effectively forced to buy that. I flagged this to one of the senior directors at the club, and they said, yeah, you know what, it's a very fair point. We should have spoken to fans, engaged with fans, and it's not, they don't have to have a full consultation. It's, we're going to do this. I don't think they've ever put 4 tickets on sale at once before in that manner. And certainly I can't remember that. And
I don't know if you remember, but at one time you used to be able to buy a European sort of season ticket for the group games, and where you got a bit of discount with it. Yeah. So it's certainly something that they could have considered for this one. Although the tickets are only 27 quid each, but as Dom rightly says, when you're buying 4 together, it's 108 quid.
And if you're buying for children, friends, whatever, it's a lot of money. And just with that small amount of engagement, they would have maybe made a change. But just to go back to your original point about Barrow, a suggestion which was throughout our ticketing survey last year was season ticket holders shouldn't be given loyalty points for those games at home, such as the cup games, to give members more opportunity. There are so many season ticket holders who have to buy for the 5 points simply to be given for the 5 points so they don't miss out, and members haven't got a chance. The biggest concern that I get in my inbox is from a member who has no chance, even Barrow at home, which, without being disrespectful to Barrow, it's not the biggest game we've ever hosted at Stamford Bridge, sold out to members within an hour yesterday afternoon. So there are lots of things that we could suggest to the club, and we certainly will. Oh, can we just grab a mic? Yeah. Thanks.
Apologies. I emailed the club, Todd Bowley, directly 2 seasons ago about the farce that is a loyalty point system, e.g. they gave loyalty points for anybody who attended the Super Cup final in Belfast, and nothing to anybody.
And a pre-season.
And anybody who went all the way to Porto, at huge cost with COVID restrictions, etc. So he came back to me and said, there's only one reason that the club doesn't get rid of the loyalty point system, and that's because the CST survey always come back and says, we love the loyalty point system. Now, I sit here for 3 or 4 years now. And this is a genuine point. I've sat here for 3 or 4 years now, and the biggest moan is tickets, as you guys alluded to earlier. And every time the survey gets filled in, everybody apparently says, we love the loyalty point system, we want it to stay. So there's something seriously wrong if we all sit here and complain about it, yet when the survey comes out, we hang our hat on that survey and we stick to what it says. Now, I appreciate that's why you do the survey, but for me, just as we've talked about the virtual waiting room is being heavily weighted by various things, I actually think the survey is, because I say, I don't know anybody here who stood up at the moment and applauded the loyalty point system.
I think.
Well,
hold on, just
my alternative. I'm a season ticket holder, 25 seasons season ticket holder, and what I don't understand is why anybody should be given a loyalty point and be given a chance to buy tickets before me. Why isn't it just an open thing? Every game is open to every season ticket holder. Well, that's what it is now.
I'm not saying that's what the loyalty point system, but
can we grab a microphone just because I'm aware of people?
I'm not sure what the alternative is. What was my question?
Well,
so just
okay, but there must be better or fairer ways.
Fine. So just to come back on that, I don't think, looking back at any of our surveys on ticketing, people have been overly enamoured. I think there certainly is a place for a loyalty point system. Is it the one that we've got at the moment? it probably does need tweaking, updating, and actually working with supporters to get a fairer system. Will it be able to appease absolutely everyone? Until away allocations increase to 30,000, it never ever will do. But look,
Can I just add two things? You'll never please all of the people all of the time.
Yeah.
No, I think you need to have a loyalty point system of some kind.
Yeah.
But I think what you really need is an honest conversation.
Yeah.
There's a much more honest conversation needed.
And do we include balloting? I know it's a bad word. A lot of people shy away from it, but yeah, that is the alternative. Yeah. And is it yeah?
But
Is it fair that a member who gets the first away ticket for the season is then set for that season? He will always be in front. But yeah, whereas someone who's involved in a ballot gets an equal opportunity.
I think the away tickets is just wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to be given out more.
So
it's a monopoly.
So you could argue home tickets for members are becoming less and less available. You know, 5,000 or 6,000 for every home game. That's all. Yeah. So you get in the first game, you get in for every game after that. Whereas balloting possibly gives a fairer opportunity.
So it's very difficult. Like we've got 200,000 people all logging on at the same time. Older people will be massively disadvantaged because we're not as good as having 8 screens open at the same time. It's true though. It's true.
But that does come back to my point. That's why I think an honest conversation needs to happen. And the only way you have that conversation is sitting down and talking it through either with a large group of supporters or have a town hall type conversation where ticketing and loyalty point is the theme, because there's lots of different options out there, but the conversation isn't taking place. You know, I said earlier, the only chance you get to do it is when there's a policy review once a year. Again, I put it in my manifesto, and I have suggested 2 things to the club. I have suggested a 3-game European season ticket for this season.
it was rejected.
And it was rejected. I have suggested actually season ticket holders for cup games and European Conference League games get no points. But have the conversation with the season ticket holders beforehand and ask them. And you might be surprised what some might say back as the answer. We don't have enough conversation with our supporter base to drive the policy changes we make. So we make policy up arbitrary then. You know, again, at the risk of sounding like a former chief executive, you know, if we are customers, you know, you do customer surveys, you talk to your customers and you find out what worked for them. Because I'd have tested it out in the Conference League games. Because if no season ticket holder gets points, no one's got an advantage and your points level remains exactly the same. The only reason why people were buying those group of 4 tickets is they wanted a Liverpool away ticket. That was it. Because I think someone said earlier, the first 2 games decides the destiny of the season. And this is where the honesty is needed. And again, if I've got this percentage wrong, but over the last 2 years, the renewal rate for season tickets is something like 99.8%.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
High.
So there's less than 100 new season tickets every year. Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, yeah, you got to have the honest conversation. We've got a less than, you know, so there's an urban, you know, it's a game. There's so many people out there thinking, if I'm getting in the virtual waiting room, you know, the ultimate goal isn't a ticket for Barrow. The ultimate goal is a season ticket. Well, I've got news for you. You got no cat and hell's chance. And as soon as we have that honest grown-up conversation and look at ways, the whole of our ticketing policy, we'll have this debate every single year. Yeah.
And just to,
or if we build a bigger stadium, then the problem gets solved.
Yeah, I was about to say we need 200,000.
just to tie up on that one point. So I think the CST's position is very clear. We're driven by our members. We heard what the members said last season. So our position is we don't think ballots would be in the best interests of supporters. But again, if they want, I don't know if the club suddenly wanted to do it, they have to engage. But our position is very clear. We don't think it's the right thing. Also, actually, have a look, because in a way, some would argue we already have a ballot in the BWR. The worst thing about the BWR, amongst a lot of other things, is its name, waiting room. It's not a waiting room. There is no, you don't come in and you're given number 6, number 7. It is a randomized entry system. What's that? A randomized entry system? Oh, it's almost like a ballot. The 30 seconds ticks down and it sees if there's a position in the system for you to go in and buy a ticket. That effectively is already, it's randomized. It's randomized whoever gets in.
I believe it's algorithm.
Yeah, and I mean, there are loads of different theories, but it is a random, according to the club, it's a randomized system. It's not a waiting room. You're not allocated an entry number. It's allegedly a randomized system. Right, let's move on.
Hi, so well, I want to keep with the tickets. The West Ham, first of all, I'm lucky I've got an away season ticket, so I'm not asking a question for myself. But when it came to West Ham this season, all of my mates, and we always go to West Ham, there's about 10 of us, not a single one of them was able to get a ticket. This is like the first time in God knows how many years. And it seems to me that as well, that there was, the club had announced a whole sort of raft of loyalty points that would enable you to, I think from 10 o'clock it was 58 points, which I think didn't really exist. Then it was 57 points, then it was going to be 55, then it was going to be something else. But they all sold out on the second one.
Yeah.
And for a stadium like West Ham, where we surely get a huge number of away tickets, I mean, I found that extraordinary. I mean, I'm just wondering how many tickets are now being creamed off and given to the Westview ticket holders.
Yeah.
And that means that there aren't many left for the real fans. And the other thing I want to make about just loyalty points is that I think they should not be sold as a marketing device. I think it should be one point per match, regardless of what game it is.
So with West Ham, with any away game, the clubs say that you've got 100% of tickets, and for West Ham it was approximately 3,000. 20% go to Club Chelsea. That was increased from 13% about 4 or 5 years ago.
No, it was only a couple of years ago. No,
it's
a
more
couple of
recent.
years ago. Yeah.
It was when they introduced Club Chelsea, which was
3 years ago.
three years
3
ago.
years ago.
Okay, 3 years ago. So it increased from 13% to 20%. So that's removed. On top of that, you've then got players' tickets, sponsors, any staff. They have to be taken out of the allocation, and whatever number of tickets is left, 60% is given to season ticket holders, 40% is given to members. So
how many away season ticket holders are we now? Do you know?
I think we were about in the 700s, Wayne. About in the
And they've killed that now, aren't there? There are no more.
No.
nobody's been-
So if you leave that you're not replaced with it.
But it seems, I mean, that 3,000 ticket allocation for West Ham, though. I mean, the fact that the club had planned to go to like 4 different levels of loyalty points.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never experienced that before.
They were going to go down to 3. You effectively, to get 58 loyalty points, you had to have had every ticket plus Wolves plus Servette, and that's where a lot of people missed out. So you effectively had to go to Geneva away to get it. That's being deadly honest. The other, and that would have been, and if you were in that 58 bracket, you would have been guaranteed a seat. If you were in the 57, there were only a certain number. It sold out after about 6 or 7 minutes. Again, look, it goes back to the original point. There will never be a way that satisfies everyone.
Yeah, but it just seems that this is something new. I mean, it never used to be as difficult as that.
It never used to be.
But there used to be far more tickets on sale to fans.
Yeah,
it seems,
I think it's
than
certainly
there are now.
become more of an issue since the 20% corporate allocation has come in.
Good.
And I think it's fair to say that the touting of away games has increased. since the corporate
I saw
allocation.
within 5 minutes of being told that I was trying to get one for my grandson, and I was told it was sold out. And within 5 minutes, secondary sites were selling tickets in the away end for 250 quid.
My good friends at Live Football Tickets, who I'm virtually on first name terms with now, have currently got 678 tickets for the West Ham Chelsea game, starting at £74. Starting at £74. Yes. But again, I'd say some of those tickets are fake.
Yeah,
Some of them are duplicate. They're not all tickets, but the fact within that, there will be genuine tickets that people are selling on. As I said earlier, we'll have people, regrettably, this is amongst their own, we'll have regrettably people in Club Chelsea, members and season ticket holders, I've talked about the organised bit, but this is individual people doing it as well, because because the threat and the jeopardy is virtually non-existent. The risk of getting caught is non-existent. Yeah. And there's also sort of a broader thing as well, is that, people don't know. We suggested at the club last year, like Borussia Dortmund have got a really good idea. Their way of tackling this is because again, many people make a pilgrimage to Stamford Bridge for that one game a season. You might call them tourists, whatever. They're the ones probably paying this. And what Borussia Dortmund did, they did put bins all the way around Borussia Dortmund Stadium. And if you went there when we played in the Champions League a couple of years ago, and they really do a strong communication on this, because they're supporters as well, but they've paid way over the odds for their ticket. And they were sort of saying, look, if you leave your ticket in that bin, no questions are asked, we'll investigate it. Yeah. And the stadium's got bins dotted around. Now, we suggested that at Chelsea. They said no. Too much aggravation. Yeah. No, after the game.
After the game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go back to the person who's buying it,
Yeah.
but it goes back to the seller.
But the point is really valid about the West Ham game. And again, where I think the ticket office operate a really good system is that staggered points. Whether people agree that loyalty points a different way, the staggered point system does work well. Whatever points level, if you are the right points level, it's worked well on cup final tickets as well. You go in, it's a relatively quick and painless experience. And if they've set it up on that page, they must, to their credit, have had an idea that it might go a little bit further down than it did. The fact it went so high.
Well, away games, away games pretty much always sell out in that second batch. I think unofficially the first batch is if you're in that first batch on points, you're guaranteed a seat for pretty much all games. I know there were a few last season there weren't. And if you're in that second batch, they're only a certain number. But yeah, I don't think there's an exact science. If any other clubs found an exact science. Can we just grab a microphone? Oh, we're just over here. We'll come back. It's fine. Yeah.
Am I allowed to give this microphone? I've been waiting for this.
No, you go.
Go on. Ask your question.
Julie, go for it.
Yeah.
No, it was just really, Mark, you invited observations, when you gave your chairman's statement. And I think one of the observations is, as you were talking about your chairman's report, for me, it was about the connection that we've got with the local community and always have had, and the things that CST have done, and I just really want to congratulate you all for all that work that you put in to retain the connections that we have in SW6. And one of the things that you talked about in your report was about emotional shareholders. And when I look around this room, I'm guessing a lot of us have put in a lot of years to develop that emotional shareholder bond that we have. Next year, I'll have been coming here for 50 years. And yes, I know, honestly. And I have never felt so disconnected from this club that I love. And it makes me very emotional because it's been at the core of my being. And I don't know what it's about anymore. I don't know who runs the club. I don't know what the ideas are behind that. Look, we've seen, just looking around the room, we've seen it all. We've been through all of it, all the ups and downs. That's part of being a football supporter. But what's happening now, I don't have a clue. And I speak to people, not only of my generation, but younger people who are coming here and saying, yeah, it's not football as we knew it. It's not, I'm coming here, I want to come and see a football match. I don't come here for the bells and the whistles. I want the 90 plus 45 minutes,
Yeah.
I want that. That's the thing that makes my heart sore. And, without these emotional shareholders, this product's worth nothing. And I just feel really passionately about it. And I think that the CST are really, advocating on our behalf. And I just want to say thank you, all of you, for giving up your time to do it, because it means a lot to us. So thank you.
Just to come on that, look, we try our hardest. We don't get things totally right. We're all volunteers. Contrary to what some people on Twitter say, we don't get tickets to Cobham to meet the players. I've never sat in hospitality. I sit in the waiting room and miss out on tickets half the time. I'll be lucky if I get a coffee if I meet one of the guys up here. And we literally just do it for that exact reason, because we actually want to try and make a difference. We don't do it for an ego trip. I couldn't give a shit about that. We're all busy working in our usual job, and then this is pretty much a part-time job for all of us. So yeah, the one thing is we try our asses off, and for that exact reason, because I don't know about you, I've been heartbroken over the last few months. I'd like to say that I can usually have a stiff upper lip, but I've been sat in bed and my missus has actually just had to rub my back because I've been so upset, and that is the one reason why I'm sitting here today. And I'm sure we all do it.
There's no connection to this country.
Yeah. And that.
We don't know who they are.
Can we grab a mic? Just grab a mic, just because people can't hear.
Sorry, but this is.
We've always had players, even back in the 80s when we were rubbish. We connected to the players. We knew who the players were. We knew what their personalities were. In most cases, we liked them, but we knew who they were. We don't know who any of these players are.
Yeah.
They don't speak English. No one makes them speak English. Like Wisey used to make them speak English, make them learn. They don't speak English. They don't have recognisable personalities. They sort of in and out as fast as anything. The only players that we like, they got rid of, even though they should never have got rid of Gallagher. And for me, I think that was so upsetting when they got rid of Gallagher. You know, what this lady was saying, I mean, you really was really upsetting when they sold Gallagher.
Yeah.
And there's just the connection, and that is why it's so quiet in the stadium.
Yeah.
Because you're sort of standing there, you know, and people just don't care like they used to, I'm afraid.
So we've given them the blueprint. We've given them the blueprint of how they can at least start to make a connection. They've got to start somewhere, because at the moment it's non-existent, but we've given them the blueprint. In my opinion, they'd be idiots not to at least make some attempt.
This is our offer back. Like, we're not perfect, as Dom said. We'll make mistakes. I think if we looked back on hindsight of that letter we sent in March, would we send it again? Yes, we would. We might remove the word laughing stock, because clearly people got a bit obsessed about that. But nonetheless, take that word out of it.
We are a laughing stock.
But again, I'm use the way the press worked. The press picked up on that one word and missed the whole point of the letter. So our message to the club since then, park that word, because that's what people were most upset about. Read the letter once. This is what I've set the club for you. Read it twice. Then when you've read it twice, read it for a third time. And take that word out, and we would write that same letter again. And that whole thing about the sort of the disconnection. Julie, I want to thank you. I want to just come back on that point. That was another reason why it wasn't just about QA today. You know, the events of the last 24 hours. This football club means so much to so many people, you know, who've put a lot of their emotion invested in it. And the winning or losing, you know, can really make or break some people's weekend. Now that might appear, and sorry to resurrect a former chief executive of his club, but when we met him, one of the things he also said was we were irrational. Yeah. And Cliff did, and Cliff said that's the whole point. And Cliff did this wonderful speech to describe that irrationality of why we are Chelsea supporters. It's ingrained in you, and why you became one in the first place, and how you connected with the club, and the different things, what got you connected with the club. Was it a player? Was it a kit? Was it the ground?
Was it the smell of onions?
Yeah. Was it horse shit and hamburgers? But whatever way you connected, and it means so much to so many people. And that's the thing. We didn't know what happened last night. We were surprised as much as everybody else. But we had people contact us because, do you know what? They care. And they really care. That's why we made the point, irrespective of what people say on social media. We want the best for this football club. We want this football club to be successful. We want the best players playing for Chelsea. You know, we don't want them to fail. You know.
And then down
just
here
more of an observation. I think the problem is now, with all these people here, we've all been through the tough times and the good times. Ken Bates, Roman Abramovich, they both realised that they were custodians of this club. Yeah. And the Mears before them. The problem is now these Americans have bought a franchise. As far as they're concerned, it's their club, and they just want to make money on it. Yeah. And that's my observation.
We were in a meeting the other day with We're the Shed and a couple of the Atmosphere team of just, well, first of all, we told them to stop having a silly DJ before games. We're not in Ibiza Rocks. If I want to watch Wayne Lineker making a tart of himself, I'd go and watch that on social media. Don't need to do that at Stamford Bridge. Silly things that they're making changes to, not playing the whole beginning of One Step Beyond, playing the Foo Fighters before games. I mean, the list was endless. But again, in that meeting, on a number of occasions, it was like the brand's growing, the brand's this, brand's that. No, we're not a brand. We're a football club before anything else. We're Chelsea Football Club. So whilst you may want to monetize it, there's a lot of people, emotional stakeholders, supporters who love this football club more than anything else, rather than your monetization. And then after DJ, can we come down there oft?
Just a quick point about what's happened last night. Personally, I think we need new custodians. But at the mob we've got, I hope everybody in this room, and I'm going to encourage everybody else I know to, if it's a straight fight between Egg Barley and Todd Bowley, I'm backing Todd Bowley, because to me, he knows more about sport. I don't know about football, but he knows more about sport. And the other guy, to me, from what I've read about him and some of the quotes I've read, all he's interested in is the dollar. So, you know, I hope everybody in this room, if it is a straight fight between those two, gets behind Todd Bowley.
Just made the point whilst I'm moving the microphone that Todd Bowley is his own money. Egg Barley represents Clear Lake. We're a company.
Yeah, there's a couple of points I wanted to make and also a couple of questions. I 100% agree with all the stuff you said about the emotional thing. I mean, I'm January 50 years. So, you know, been there, done that, gloomy years and all the rest of it. And the first two games of the season, for the first time ever, and I didn't even realise I'd done it until I did it, I walked out instead of clapping the players off the pitch. Now, I've clapped them off the pitch when they've, you know, lost ridiculously and all been a load of shit. And there's me and 6 people still clapping in the stadium. And these two, I didn't bother because I don't know who I'm clapping anymore. I haven't got a clue who they are. And it is devastating. And talking to people before the season started, not just people my age, people my son's age, people, there's like my age, and then there's a gang of what we used to call the youth who are no longer youths. They've got kids of their own, very small ones. And then there's anyway, there's sort of 5 layers of people. And the lack of excitement, the anxiety about what's going on, and the lack of any sort of connection to the club that we have loved irrationally for a long time. I wanted to, just the custodian thing, I was going to make that point as well. I remember, I mean, Matthew Harding said, you know, owners aren't, well, they're not owners, they're custodians, and I don't think they get that. They are about building a brand, not about building even the team. I mean, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but seriously, you know, you think, oh look, they've bought a Brazilian. Is that because we've lost a Brazilian, so therefore we've got to build the brand in Brazil? It's nothing to do with buying a player to build a team. It's about making sure you've got a player from each different area to build the brand. I mean, that's, you look at the team and where they're from, and that's what it begins to look like. So I agree with all that, and I think that I don't know how we get that across to them, but that to me is one of the main things we have to get across to them, is that we're not here for the bells and whistles, as people say. We're here to see football. We're here because we love it. We're here irrationally, and they're taking something really precious away by how they're behaving at the moment. I wanted to say on the tickets, the whole ticket thing, I'm really worried about the whole digital ticket, partly because I've got a shit phone that really wouldn't do it, partly because of stuff like standing in queues in Tesco's behind people who are trying to mess around with their phones and pay by phones and get their Tesco card out on their phone that takes an extra 10 minutes. It's bad enough getting in the ground already without all that. But also there is a whole thing about share. I know people who share season tickets. That's particularly true of people who have, there are groups who within a group, there are some people whose name is on the season ticket, but they alternate between, say, the family section and the Matthew Harding or something like that, because their 7-year-old can't come to an 8 o'clock kickoff. So that goes to someone who's the older person who goes with, yeah, and we all move around, and we can do that with little plastic cards. Doing it via all sorts of, clever technology doesn't always work. And I also think that actually the online stuff that's what's exacerbated the touting and stuff, isn't it? I mean, clearly and in terms of them saying they're doing what they can, look on Twitter, put 2 words in, put Chelsea tickets, and then and go then to the person who's saying, I really can't go with my son to the whatever game, right? Go to their profile, and they're saying the same thing about Man U, about Arsenal, about whatever, right? It's clear, it's obvious. Why isn't I found 8 in 10 minutes. It's really not difficult. So if it's easy for me, and I'm not sitting in an office being paid for it with a whole load of, I'm doing it on my crappy phone. They can clearly do it with their proper stuff.
So,
and just one more thing is, I don't know how people feel about, but I think that one of the things that would make things a lot easier for people, a lot of people, is if at some point during the week, not on a match day, the ticket office was open, because actually being able to go up to the ticket office and talk to a real live human being made it easier for people with disabilities, made it easier for older people, made it easier when you had a specific problem. I mean, certainly, like for Wembley, I now have a problem because I can't stand up for a whole game. I'm someone who said I was going to chain myself to the shed, would never sit down at a football match. Well, now I can't. I can't stand up, and it's horrible. And it means that at Wembley, I get in horrible fights, because whereas when I would come up in the old days, I could have come up to the ticket office and said, I need this sort of ticket, and they would have found me that sort of ticket. But there's loads of stuff. There's just loads of stuff I think could be solved by talking to a real human being. I'm not expecting them to do it 10 to 5 days a week again, but it wouldn't hurt, would it? 2 days a week, 2 afternoons a week.
No, thanks, Kim. Just a couple of things on the digital ticketing thing. Again, if people aren't fully aware, every Premier League club has to implement digital ticketing by the 26-27 season at the latest. So again, that is a rule of the Premier League. So if people wondering why there's speed for digital ticketing, it's a Premier League directive, Google Premier League digital ticketing, and the policy is on there. So the latest Chelsea have to do it by 26-27. To date, there's been one meeting with various supporters groups that took place about this time last year to start the conversation on digital ticketing. And as Don made reference to earlier, the last 3 games of last season, they asked supporters to volunteer and take part in that. I've asked, and others have asked, for the results of that. Nothing has been made of it, which probably suggests it was probably a small sample and not big enough. So they're probably going to do further testing during this season and asking for a much wider sample of people using digital ticketing. I would anticipate, with the long-standing Equalities Act, I think it won't be 100% digital at Chelsea. It's not 100% at other clubs as well. I use the example of Fulham because they've gone live at the first home game the other week. What Fulham did, which I hope Chelsea will be doing, I anticipate they will over the next 12 months, conversation with supporters, large group supporters, not small, large groups. So they get as many opinions as possible. It's probably going to be an 80-20 split. So 80% will be digital and 20% will make allowances probably for the age of the supporter, the disability, and what Fulham have done is the actual phone, because not everybody has got one of these phones. So Fulham have basically said, if you don't want to do it, you still got to do it if you've got the phone. If you haven't got the phone, you'll still get a ticket, a physical card ticket. But to do that, you need to have a dialogue conversation with lots of supporters before you go to implementation. Yeah. So it's coming. I'd like to think it's done in a proper way, with lots of conversation with lots of different supporters, so you get it right. And actually, I would applaud Fulham. If people aren't aware, Fulham went live the other week, and what they did, if people haven't seen, they encouraged supporters to get to the ground early because they opened the bars an hour earlier. They gave every season ticket holder a free drink, and all drinks, all pints were £1. The queue for Fulham wasn't getting into the crowd, it was getting to the bar. So as an initiative, it worked. But what they also did for merchandise, they had a 40% reduction on merchandise. So they got people in the ground. They had teething troubles, like every club has had going live on digital, but they minimised the issues because they put that plan in place. So, well done to Fulham.
Yeah.
Could I just add to this? I mean, digital ticketing, make no mistake about it, is being introduced for cost cutting. It's no other reason. There's no reason it won't help with ticket touting. In fact, I think it will make the situation worse with ticket touting, but it's purely being done to save costs. And we have in the past and recently, I think, said to the club, can there be some sort of online digital workshop to encourage people to see how it works and, you know, what they will do with their, when they get to the turnstiles. Do they need to have battery on their phone? Do they need to have a Wi-Fi signal? Can it be just saved to your wallet on your phone, etc., etc.? So we're encouraging them to do some sort of digital workshop that explains how to use the digital ticket on your phone. We haven't had confirmation that that's going to be done, but I know Mike's been looking into it, hasn't he? So hopefully that's something that will come over the next few
There's
years.
two other things I've also that's been suggested in the one meeting that took place is actually the Wi-Fi at Stamford Bridge isn't very good. So before you go live on digital, something needs to happen there. And
But
secondly,
you don't necessarily need Wi-Fi for the digital ticket, Mark. If you've saved it on your phone, it's there. You don't need a signal.
And the other thing they have to do as well is the expectation that's in the Premier League rules about battery. It's your responsibility to make sure your phone is charged. So again, if you look around the perimeter of the stadium, they probably need additional battery points because that would be the worst thing that happened. You know, we'll fall guilty of this. You know, we forget. So someone could easily turn up with their ticket downloaded and their phone's not charged. They won't get in. Yeah.
Can I just quickly say, I wouldn't have withdrawn the, what was the phrase you said you should have withdrawn? Laugh and stop. See, it's on page when Saturday comes, then you might have a look right.
Yeah.
I see this up north.
And just to close off on your first point about kind of us keeping going, I know I sound really glum and pretty downbeat, but we're up for a fight. And I really want to make this very clear. We've got a really, I mean, there's 9 of us on the board, and I'd like to say that we've all been able to showcase ourselves, but we've got a really strong team behind us. Some of the sharpest minds, even outside of the board, legal, comms, we've got a really good team behind us. So please don't think that we're just kind of giving up. We're absolutely up for a fight, and I'll certainly roll my sleeves up and we'll absolutely get it. And that's to make sure that the voice of the supporters, the voice of the CST is never, ever lost.
Yeah, just on a few points. Cliff mentioned just recently about touting. One thing that really baffles me, especially the UEFA games, away supporters in the home end, that in the home support is really baffling. I mean, this must be from the touts or something else. The club mentioned a few years ago that only 9 people at Wansdown Place have been prosecuted in court for it. And I'll point on the balloting. During COVID, I believe there was balloting for home games. So
2 games.
Yeah,
It
2.
was
So
the
I don't know.
3 games. The Leeds, West Ham and Krasnodar game. Now, the West Ham never took place.
Leicester.
Leicester. So there were 3 or 4 games. I know the Krasnodar game definitely had balloting. Leeds, pretty sure did. And Leicester. So yeah, it has happened before, but I think we can all agree it's not happened.
But the point on UEFA games is a really valid one.
Yeah.
The most extreme example in recent years is when we played Eintracht Frankfurt and they took over large parts of sort of like, I think the middle tier of the East End sprung to mind. This is an area we have flagged with the club, and we flagged with the club last season when Galatasaray played Manchester United at Old Trafford. Man United is no different to Chelsea. They're not unique. They have the same issues with tickets being sold on. And obviously people saw for themselves Galatasaray fans infiltrated major parts of Manchester United home areas. Now, just by the grace of God, most of the Manchester United fans had gone home, so the Galatasaray fans stayed. You know, football can get emotional, and sometimes home and away supporters do not see eye to eye. The real risk, and this is another thing we have flagged, about having this out of control and not nipping it in the bud. And as I said earlier, you need the resources to do that. Sooner or later, we may come across a European team because of that very example that gentleman gave earlier of large-scale tickets being sold on another market that foreign fans buy. And you then have crowd trouble and antisocial behaviour in the stadium on the back of people buying tickets in home ends. It's an accident waiting to happen.
A question online is, have they stopped opening the West Stand after games? It seems like the club have stopped trying to get people through the door. We asked this question when we met with We Are the Shed and the club on Thursday. Yes, they have. And the reason why they gave wasn't making enough money to justify the extra stewards. And then we said, why is it not making enough money? Well, who wants to go and buy a £7.50 pint of Singer when you've got an abundance of pubs for less than that? Nice glass, a beer of your choice. You can have something to eat as well. Atmosphere all ties into it. Why is it always so quiet just before kickoff? Because people are trying to get into the ground as late as possible. Why are they trying to get into the ground as late as possible? Because they're trying to drink in the pubs because it's much better experience and for less just ahead of game. And the music is so loud. So yeah, I totally agree. And so yeah, so after the City game, we gave immediate feedback saying it's ridiculous. And then they took that on board.
For the last game, they relocated the DJ.
Yeah. But just on that, so we met with them about atmosphere, and again, this is a team who, the atmosphere team at the club should be working hand in hand with supporters, be it We're the Shed, be it the fan advisory board. There's no engagement, which I said to the head of the department, I said it was a catastrophic failure on your behalf. Not the person who we spoke to. So they've committed to speaking better and having a better engagement with We're the Shed and with the fan advisory board and other supporters groups. Time will tell.
Should be, but they're not. It should be. Whoever is in charge of, ambience or whatever it is, has to be, because you have to understand the passion.
Yep.
Well, you can't be there and you're just a robot. No connection in your heart.
Yeah. So then to compensate for that, they need to be speaking to supporters and actually properly having supporters as part of the kind of decision-making process.
Just wanted to, you mentioned that the members' price has gone up £5 this season, last season. And if we've got 95 members, that's £495,000.
£500,000.
That's £500,000. And they couldn't take 250,000 of that to put on subsidised coaches.
Yeah. So again, one of our biggest arguments is you've made £500,000 on memberships at least. Yeah, we're not necessarily seeing that any of that invested back into supporters' services. I think we can say with passion, pretty much every supporter-facing budget has been cut, be it programme, be it subsidised coaches, be it the price of beer's gone up, all these things which add to your match day experience, and the match day experience has got worse. It's something we're working on. We've flagged to them that there is no way to get to Liverpool via train for the game later on next month, beginning of next month. The Bournemouth coach, it was 28 quid because there's not enough people on it. It's been cancelled. And so people have been forced to there's one train that gets you back from Folkestone, just to try and allay some sort of concerns, because I've had so many people messaging me. We've written this morning to South Western Railway. I've written to them this morning basically saying there's 1,300 Chelsea fans travelling down to Bournemouth. Some will get a hotel, some will be driving, but there'll be a lot of people trying to get on that train. And if you put 4 carriages on, you're going to have a lot of fights, or a lot of people who need a seat standing. So please, can you try and consider additional capacity? So that's gone this morning. We shouldn't have to be doing that. You shouldn't have to be doing that. We should be able to go and watch our team. We should be able to pay a decent, reasonable price. We should be able to go and have a decent pint of beer, a burger. You should be able to take your kids, buy a programme, and it not cost you an arm and a leg. I appreciate this is modern football, but for me, it stinks, and it's pretty disgusting. And the subsidised coach has really summed up the tone-deaf tenure of Chris Jurasek, and I, for one, will be glad to see the back of him.
Okay. Sorry, this goes back to support, and this is actually the main reason why I came. Over the years, we've had even coaches weigh in on support at the club. Jose Mourinho, Thomas Tuchel, and this has been going on at least for a decade. Where I come from, of course, the Nigerian national team is very popular, But there's something unique we do. We have a dedicated supporters club. Now, I know that the way tickets are bought here are different and there's no guarantee that people, would be there for every game. But if the CSC can get in touch with fans and fans who are season ticket holders and go for every game home and away and form that group that no matter what, whether we are winning or losing, are, praising the boys or booing them depending on how badly they perform, are there on the ground. One, it keeps the players on their toes. Two, it re-encourages them. And I want to speak as someone who nearly represented Nigeria at the 2016 Olympics. I'm a former footballer myself. I'm a registered coach in England myself. And this goes to your point and some of the other points made. Yes, we can flog the new ownership on certain things they've gotten wrong, but we have to admit they've invested so much in putting this club at the top. And I say that without bias. We've bought some of the best players globally. Estavio in Brazil is not just because he's Brazilian. The boy is actually ridiculous. We have to clap for them when they do things like that in our interests. Exactly. No. So the disconnect is, and I said this a few weeks ago when I came for the last preseason game at Inter Milan. There's a huge disconnect in this new set of players because this new set of players are being brought to improve the brand and the business according to the new owners who just want to win to make more money, right? And they don't have that connection to the club. And I suggested something. I suggested having players like John Terry, like Joe Cole, join backroom staff. It's essential to maintain the lifeline within the backroom staff so that it can get transmitted to this new crop of players and they are taught what it means to be Chelsea, what it means to wear the badge and go out there and give your life.
Last season. And I said exactly this. Under Roman, we always had a club appointment in first team coaching.
Can we grab a microphone down here, please?
We always had a club appointment in the first team coaching center. And I said exactly that. I said, you've got John Terry, brilliant leader, brilliant man.
Yes.
Big Chelsea guy. And I said to Beerman, get him in the
Backroom staff. Yeah.
Impossible.
He's a youth coach, isn't he? He's a youth coach.
Just there. And he's not involved. And if he was involved, at the very least, it would get the fans.
Yes, and he's a figure that the players would respect, obviously, because everyone knows him. And this is something that is essential because a lot of these players see it as jobs. They are playing for their lives. I mean, I still have injuries I got in 2014. I limped today because of a groin injury, right? So they need to stop seeing it as just money and see it as passion as well. And
so
for
that,
this
I
to
think
happen,
just
This sort of skin, and if they can make £10 million money before he even hits the door for Chelsea Football Club, they'll sell it.
Yeah.
They're buying players to make money, not for the benefit.
very true. Very true.
so just to
Yeah, Angela,
just to wind this point up because there's a lot of questions and I'm aware that you've had maybe 4 or 5. Look, from our point of view, is the atmosphere at Stamford Bridge where we want it to be? I think we can all agree no. Do I think it would be improved by gimmicks like drums, like DJs? No, I don't. Do I think that clappers would do anything? No, I think it would turn us into an embarrassment. Do I think that there needs to be a better connection? And that, yes, there needs to be a connection between the club and the stands, but there also needs to be a connection between the dressing room and the stands. And that's what's really going to get you a loud, passionate fan base. I commend kind of the support groups such as We're the Shed. They're really trying to kind of do what they can, but quite frankly, people can have as many flags and as many amazing introductory tifos, whatever. If after 2 minutes people still are watching a product on the pitch that they don't connect with and players on the pitch that they have no idea who they are they going to get behind them?
I think there's also a correlation between, because it keeps coming back to our ticket policy and atmosphere. There is there's a real reason why there's obviously sort of like a lack of atmosphere at times as well, because if you've got the same group of people in the same place for a period of time, you get to know and you can build that up. We've got every other game, sort of like in many seats, a different person sitting in that seat, because that's also a club policy as well. They see each seat now from a revenue point of view. So again, they actually welcome the idea of different people keep coming. You need a hardcore supporters base that generate the atmosphere at both ends of the ground. But even that, is having an impact made on it in more recent times.
Hi. So thank you everything you've done. It's really appreciated, and it's nice to see that you're, doing what you do. But just one comment and one question. I 100% agree with what you said earlier about the Westview. It's too expensive and it creates demand everywhere else. And as a member, I've noticed it's much harder to buy tickets since it's coming. So just want to say keep putting it back to the board. And I also noticed there's more hospitality in the West lower as well, which doesn't help things.
And more hospitality going into general admission.
Yeah.
The Rose and Ball had, I think there's 300 seats slowly been taken from areas of general admission, which makes it even more difficult for members to get a ticket.
Yeah. And you've already touched on it, but Singer, it'd be nice to actually drink a nice beer before the game. So if you could keep relaying that back.
So
as
yeah,
well.
with Singer, I met with the former chief exec Guy Lawrence, and he said to me that Singer pay almost double more than any big reputable brand that we all like and drink. And again, money talks, and that's because Singer is a smaller company. They don't have the exposure, and so having exposure from Chelsea, it comes again within to that match day experience. If you had a decent pint at a decent price and something that you actually enjoyed, you might get to the ground half an hour earlier than you would do. You're therefore in your seat 10 minutes earlier than you would do, and you can actually generate a bit of atmosphere. Or you feel like I don't mind giving Chelsea my £6 for a pint because I know I'm going to go and do that and they'd enjoy it. But for me, I go and sit in the pub and enjoy a nice glass. But yeah, we'll keep fighting on that.
Just on the subject of Westview, just to pick up on your point, we did meet with the club specifically on Westview, and they have committed to meeting with us again. As I said earlier, they did reduce the price of the Crystal Palace game. It did go down. It's still far too expensive, £150, far too expensive. And the Servette games and the other games are going to be £50. Servette didn't sell out, so I think they're probably trying to find their price point where it does sell out. Well, it's not going to sell out 150 quid, but they have committed to sort of meet with us again on that. In return, I've committed to not emailing them after every single game, pointing out all the empty seats in the stadium, which I was doing, but I am keeping a record of every single game. Yeah, it's not difficult. I have a bit more time on it because I'm retired now, so I've got plenty of time on my hand. So yeah. So we're not all working. So yeah, I can see at a glance every single game what tickets sell, what tickets don't sell. And as I said earlier, Liverpool last season, beginning of the season, was the only game we worked at full capacity of 40,022 people.
And just a quick one from online. Where does the CST stand on the possibility of a fixture being played overseas, Premier League fixture? Again, we're mandated for this. We're very much against it. We're affiliated with the Football Supporters Association, and every single supporters group from all 20 clubs is against the idea. So even if it was 2 clubs that were forced to go and do it, there'd be backlash from every single set of supporters.
And I would add to that, I represented the CST at the FSA's annual general meeting at Wembley in the summer. There was 2 major topics the FSA will probably up their game on over the next 12 months. One is the likelihood of a Premier League game played overseas, because we've already seen Liverpool's owners and the Mayor of London welcome it, but Bournemouth's owners speak out against it. Yeah. We will seek the view of what Chelsea's stance on that in the not too distant future. Obviously, once we've sort of done our annual survey. And the other thing that the FSA will labour the point on, and people have seen it already, and I attended the workshop with many other clubs there, is on ticketing pricing. And we've seen Spurs, West Ham, Nottingham Forest all give examples where they're having an impact on concessions and dramatically increasing prices, even for young supporters, which we badly need more of at this football club. So again, it doesn't cost you anything to be an FSA member. So you can go on and register as an FSA member. I anticipate Premier League-wide campaigns on both those issues this season.
Last question, just because I'm aware we'll have to wrap it up, but we'll be around afterwards, and there's food, and Chelsea have actually, I said we don't get anything, but Chelsea have kindly provided a bit of food for us this afternoon. So yeah, we'll have to wrap it up after this one question.
The DJ's back.
just a quick one on digital tickets. I work at venues like Wembley and Wimbledon Tennis that have digital tickets, and we're not set up for it at all. There's three things that need to happen. One is the Wi-Fi does have to be miles better.
Yeah.
Two, I would suggest there should be power banks around the place where customers, us, can, if our batteries are dead, we can loan a power bank, pay for it for a while to charge the phones up. That definitely helps. But probably the most important thing is to train the staff, especially the security staff, the stewards who, let's say I do this at other venues. So if they know how to help the customers, us, that will make a massive difference, because otherwise you're in a disaster the first game.
Yeah.
Because they won't get the people in enough to be a late walk up, and the age of us is not going to help.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's true. We're going to struggle, really struggle.
Mm.
And just on that, sorry, on that issue, about the ticketing. I was in Qatar for the World Cup, and we had a system whereby our tickets were activated when you got within a few meters of the turnstiles, and I mean there were queues of hundreds of people whose tickets were not showing up. Yeah, and it was an absolute disaster.
And that's in new stadiums with it built in. We're an old stadium with old technology, which it's not inbuilt. So
yeah. And I think the other thing we all need to keep a close eye on is who's actually providing the IT for this. Because you would think logically, if the Premier League wanted all 20 clubs to go digital, the easiest way to do it was just have one company do the digital ticketing for all 20 clubs. So it wouldn't matter whether you're a home or away fan, you're all using the same system. Knowing the Premier League, knowing football clubs, they all think they're unique. We'll end up with 20 different IT systems, and it's going to be very challenging.
And just on that, it's interesting that FIFA has been announced, the ticket website has been announced as one of our sponsorship partners. Barcelona have just got a 5-year contract with FIFA for them to sell all of their tickets. No suggestion that Chelsea are doing the same, but I'd be interested. It's interesting that Barcelona are doing that, and we've just partnered with them. But again, that's pure speculation. Last question.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone here and the CST, all the work you do. I live up north, so I don't get to meet you guys, and it's been brilliant to see that there's so many amazing, loyal Chelsea fans here. But this is just a proposal. It's a bit far left field, so please hear me out. Your good work that you're doing, contacting the club, as we know, this current group do not really want to engage with us. So we'll keep chipping away. Yeah. This is my point. And if everyone in this room agree with this, please let me know. If we were to all boycott a few games, I know it sounds very dramatic, but with the media on board to send that message around the world that Chelsea fans are not happy, and we intentionally, all of us, I know it's giving away money, but that's not the message we're sending. It's our love and our loyalty for Chelsea that we boycott it, all of us. Can you imagine what's kind of a scene that would send to the world? The ground is empty. Of course, there'll be a few people who are selfish and will go. But if everyone could get on side with that, if unfortunately that time comes where they will not communicate with us, we send that message. I don't know if that would be too strong.
I don't think we're at the stage where they're not communicating with us. We met with them only a few days ago. It might be a stage where we just say, actually, we're not speaking to you directly because you're literally just doing everything we're not.
You're ignoring us.
I mean, look, I don't think we ever want to be into that stage, but it's something.
I hope not. I'm just saying, if it's not said, then and people think about it, it's that old scenario of I should have said that.
Heard loud and clear.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying?
I think your point is it's a good one. What suggesting maybe is too much.
Yeah,
but at the moment, I'm surprised, frankly, that they're not getting their stick. I'm surprised. They sit in a stadium, they never get. You don't know what you're doing from your amplifier, which I'm surprised by. It would be a very easy thing to do. You don't know what you're doing.
Well, I think we did at the end of last season. We saw quite a lot of negativity.
But because of what everybody said, we don't care. We've become so defeated.
It's true. It's true.
Because they're destroying their club. Because I thought this earlier on in the season. I thought, why are people not having a go at Clearly? We chanted Conor Gallagher's name in the first game of the season. And that's it. There's been no dissent. It's because we're browbeat. It's because they basically taking the wind out.
And I'd also be a little bit concerned with boycotts. I think they're going to look at the Chelsea fan base. We've got too many season ticket holders for the ground. Is the truth of it. Yeah, too many old season ticket holders. We don't like clear. We're not prepared to put up with that. They quite like to get rid of us, I think. And I'd be wary of boycotts. Yeah, I can see our plan. These people boycotting will take season ticket holders. Take season tickets away.
Well, what could I just say on this?
One meeting, people.
Boycotts are notoriously difficult to act on, to get going. I think United have tried it in the past. Liverpool have tried it with their fans, and it's notoriously bad.
Yeah.
The one that sticks in mind, Liverpool fans, I think, walked out on the 80th minute or something like that a few years ago. I can't remember the exact protest that it was about, but maybe that's something more in mind that we could do in future.
I mean, we've got.
Can I just say that I had an idea about because I don't think a boycott will work. I think there are people who haven't missed a game for 25 years and they're not going to, they're not going to, I don't include myself, but anyway, I think that what we need to do is a level below that first. And I think what could be and should be promoted is, first of all, a boycott of merchandise, a boycott of programs, or a boycott of food and drink. That you could, not for the whole season, but you could, if you had a specific issue and a specific game, you could say, like, make sure it's publicised and say, seriously, no one buy anything during that game. Like, no one buy anything for the club. Go, but don't. And the other one, I think, that would have a visual effect. And I couldn't make it to the FSA meeting. I had something else I had to go to. But I was going to suggest it there. Is Newcastle would be a problem, but with everyone else. If everyone wore black instead of colours to a game, can you imagine the visual that would create? I mean, basically, I think we need something visual, and we need something to hit them in their pockets. And actually, people just not turning up. They've already got my season ticket money. That's not going to hit them anywhere.
The media exposure.
Yeah, I know, but I think a whole ground of people. Everyone's got a black coat, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? I think something like that is a level below, and it would have to be over a specific issue, and it would be a specific game, and it needs organising.
Look, I would suggest we continue the debate, because obviously Chelsea very kindly has provided food. Some of it is warm. So on those rare occasions you get a freebie from Chelsea Football Club, do take advantage of it. Just wanted to say thanks for coming along. Thanks for sharing your Q&As. Thanks for sharing your feelings. I thought that was quite important today for people how they're feeling. I think the other thing, just to finish on the final point, no, I don't think a boycott would work earlier. The point made. But I think there's something in that. But it's a challenge about getting beyond the people in this room, getting beyond the people who are on Zoom. Yeah, getting that broader message out. You're stronger when there's more of you, or there is a major issue. So until a major issue comes down the track, like the European Super League, where people think, because most people are happy just go at the game, go home. Oblivious to the CST, oblivious to anything, oblivious to any of this that's going on. There's a bit more Mike Jack. That's it. But you need a major issue, or you need more people involved. So Take today's meeting away for you, share experience, tell your friends. Thanks very much for coming. Grab yourself something to eat. We'll all stick around.